Hi, I'm Penny, and if you'd like to join me for Penelope's Chinwag, I'd be thrilled. This week's episode, on my crafting table, I show you the quilt I've been working on, and still am, but almost there. It's a William Morris quilt, and I'm really pleased with it. I have a chat with my friend about self-esteem. I read you some more of my story. It's 1963. And I have a visit to the Finsbury Park Astoria to see the Beatles, which was absolutely thrilling. And at the end, there's a film of my recent visit to Dartmoor, just to quieten things down a bit. So please join me if that's your cup of tea. Well, thanks for joining me. And we'll go straight over to my crafting table. Well, it isn't the table this week. I've put the quilt on the bed and I'll show you how far I've got with it. Nearly done, nearly finished. It's Tranquility by Lakeview Quilting, designs by Linda McGibbon, and it was a lovely pattern to work on. Just a couple of little bits I did show you in previous episodes, but apart from that, it's worked out really well. And I've quilted it with Stef Francis fine perle. And I love quilting with fine perle. It's not the thick stuff. And she hand dyes it. It goes through the fabric, you know, when you make your knot, it goes through the fabric so easily. But it shows up so well as well. It's just beautiful to quilt with. Anyway. There's lots of things that you can use, isn't there? Oroville, I love working with that too. But just so happens that for Tranquility, I've used this. So let's go over and see what I've done. So for the crafting table this week, I wanted to show you the quilt I've been doing. I'm nearly finished. I was hoping to get it finished today because my granddaughter, Georgina, is coming to visit, which doesn't often happen as she lives quite a way away. Anyway, this is for her. She loves William Morris and has William Morris wallpaper in her lounge. And I've stitched in the ditch. So this is the seam on the right side. And I'm noticing where I've missed. I just noticed a spot just now. Oh, there it is. There, along there. So I've got that line to do. But most of it is done. Yeah, I can't see too many more. I'm going to bind it in the edging that I chose for it. So I've got all this left over and I will cut my 2.5 inch strips, fold them and sew them on. Oh, I did want to just put that on the corner, so that will be the binding for the corner. I've saved the edge, the selvage. And I think this is the name of the design, that one, Kelmscott Marigold. So I'm going to make the label using the selvage, the spirit to create. So lovely. I'll turn it over. And here it is on the right side, all quilted. I wonder where that line was that I needed to do. I'll have to hunt for it. When you stitch in the ditch, in each seam, You can't really do that for EPP because there isn't a seam. You've joined it together like that, but there's a seam on each of these because it's patchwork. I did it by hand, so it's all done by hand. Would be nice to see it from above. I'll take a photo in my conservatory and I'll show you that too. So that's my crafting table for this week. It's looking nice, isn't it? I think you'll agree. And it's going to make a lovely present for Georgina. So the next part of my episode is Georgina, my granddaughter, and Kim, my daughter, and Mila, my great-granddaughter, and her little brother, George. They all came for the day yesterday, and it was beautiful. They arrived lovely and early. They must have left at the crack of dawn, and the weather was lovely, and we all had a laugh because Mila said, oh, I want to go out and look at the pond. And, of course, Pete, being Pete, said, well, there is a monster in there. And the look on her face, I wish I'd had the camera out then. And, of course, that was it. And then, of course, you know, we said there isn't really. But when she went out with her brother and he was looking in the pond, she said there is a monster in there and he'll grab you by the ankle. So I think that was the saying of the day about the monster in the pond. There's Georgina. Is George coming in?
Yeah.
Oh, George. Come on, go. Oh.
The mice came to see their friend.
That's it, my daughter. How old are you in a few weeks?
No, a few days. 23rd.
23rd.
56.
She's 56.
Yeah. 9 days. No, in 9 days.
And how old are you, Georgina?
Yeah, 23rd.
You're 29. I'm 29.
You're 29. And how old are you, Mila?
Mila, how old are you?
5.
5. And how old are you, George?
How old are you?
2.
2.
2.
Look, George, look at the squirrel.
You see squirrel?
Get in her shoes so you can go outside. You want to go outside? You want to go outside? You want the elephant to go out too?
You can take that outside if you want.
Yeah? You want to take your elephant outside? Now, George, there's steps here, so you have to be careful.
And
Take your jumper off. Oh, it's quite...
Too.
Oh, right.
What was that?
I don't know. The elephant's going out too.
Oh, right.
And this is an emotional chicken. So when you feel a bit emotional, Mummy, you tug it under your arm and you can carry it wherever you go.
Oh, can Nanny have a go?
Kick him around the room.
Oh, that's nice.
I feel better now.
I mean, you want to have emotional
oh, boys
chicken?
want to kick it, do they? Oh, he's so bad.
Like this. Go.
Chicky.
That's that one. Let's do it again.
Recording.
Ready?
So there we are, a lovely day. And it was lovely to see the photograph that Kim took of Mila with her arms like that, because I've got so many photographs of me when I arrive on holiday, when I arrived on the Scillies and I'm doing this. And it's just a gesture that I do quite a lot. And it was interesting to see her doing it too. I think it's, well, I find it interesting how things are passed down that we don't realise. But anyway, waffle, but I enjoy waffling, so that's why it's Penelope's Chinwag. And of course, this time 56 years ago, I was heavily pregnant. Kim was due on May the 9th and she came a fortnight early. And so that was a surprise, a complete and utter surprise, but a very welcome one. So it's not too many days away that she'll be 56. And yes, I think inside we feel the same. But when we listen to how old our children are, we have a tendency of not feeling the same. It feels different. Well, I'm going to read you my story and take you back to 1963. So if you're new here, I wrote my story in 2003 just because I did. And I started at the day I was born, 1949, and now we're up to 1963. So I hope you enjoy that, and it brings back memories for you if you're of a similar time to me. As I've said before, one thing I did have was a great deal of friends at school. We all tended to get on well together. In the summer holidays, we went to see The Young Ones and Summer Holiday, starring Cliff Richard, and romance started to blossom in our minds, especially regarding Cliff, as he lived near to us in Cheshunt. I subscribed to pop magazines and cut out any pin-up photos of the Beatles and Rolling Stones. These were stuck on my bedroom walls, and some of them were life-size. The girls would come round and we'd chat and play records and imagine what we'd say to them if we could meet them. I did go and see the Beatles at the Finsbury Park Astoria for their Christmas show in 1963-64. We were very near the front, and I couldn't believe I was seeing them in real life. You couldn't, of course, hear them for the screaming. Dad came to collect us, and we were all crying in the back of the car. I was 14. It was an evening I shall never forget. Mum passed her driving test about this time, but was a very nervous driver and basically could only drive round the block. Yes, she couldn't do a right-hand turn against the traffic, so she just went down round the block and back home. Excellent. It meant she could get out and do her shopping. She'd go to the end of the road, turn left and park at the little parade of shops in Alderman's Hill. We had a greengrocer call each week with a horse-drawn van. The milkman supplied quite a lot, and there were a good butcher's and couple of grocers. One was a small shop in Palmer's Green called Sainsbury's, and the other was Cullen's, which was at the top of my road. Sainsbury's sold cheese, eggs and ham, etc., from a glass-fronted counter which ran down either side of the shop. Any tinned or packet food you needed would be asked for. The grocer would turn round, look up and down his shelves, and then pop it onto the top of the glass shelf, rather like the cheese counter in Tesco's, except you did all your shopping like that. You then went to the butcher's for your meat and the greengrocer's for your veg. Shopping was done each week, and Toby's dog food would be bought fresh from the local pet shop. He had frozen horse meat, which we would buy in £1 blocks, cut up, and we'd throw it to him. It was like feeding the lions, and I hated the blood and the sight of the meat. After getting her provisions or giving them a list they would deliver later, Mum would then turn left again and head for home. Sometimes Mum ventured to Southgate, but it wasn't very often. However, even though she didn't go far, it meant she didn't have to travel by bus, and I think she had a sense of freedom, not being tied to the house. We never ate convenience food. Well, there wasn't any really. Mum would cook fish, or we'd have stuffed hearts, sausages, liver and bacon, or steak and kidney pie. I never really enjoyed meat, so it was probably only Sunday and Monday's dinner that I liked. Sundays were always roast, which of course is meat, but not quite the same as hearts or liver. This was served with Mum's Yorkshire pudding, and then for afters an apple pie or crumble. The next day we'd have cold meat and chips with peas or baked beans. Scrummy. In one respect, the family started to change. Mum and Dad started to go out quite a bit as Chris was growing up, and I started to go out more on my own as I was growing up too. They would go to the theatre, out for dinner with business colleagues, or would attend dinner and dances. Mum would pop upstairs to get ready and come down a different person. She wore the most beautiful evening dresses, and I vowed I'd do the same when I grew up. One was black taffeta, embroidered with small red rosebuds. As she bent over and kissed me goodbye, or good night, I was in awe, listening to the rustle of the fabric and smelling the scent of evening in Paris. I'd seen the small bottle on her dressing table, dark blue with a small silver top. Sometimes I couldn't resist a small dab for myself. Dad also looked so handsome in his evening suit with its silky lapels. He started leaving me notes if he wanted me to babysit, which made me laugh when I came home and found them on the kitchen table. One of these read, "Penny, in view of the fact that you're our number one daughter and that you work so hard in the house and that you always look after Chris when we want to go out, and that if anything has to be bought from the shops, you are the first one to rush down, and that you're such a clever girl at school, and that you're doing so well at music, and that you always take Toby out for his walks, and that you would go without your pocket money if needed. You can go out Friday night," in block capitals. Then in small writing at the bottom of the page it read, "Please, may we go out Saturday night?" My going out consisted of catching the train from Palmer's Green Station to Grange Park to meet up with some school friends, or occasionally we'd go out to Bayford, the end of the line, and walk along the country lanes. Nothing as wonderful as theatre and dinner and dances. However, I thought, my time will come. But unfortunately it didn't, as the fashions were to change and people didn't wear such wonderful dresses. We sometimes would go to Wood Green shopping or go swimming. There were 3 open-air swimming pools close by, and we would take a packed lunch and spend the day there, sunbathing. The anticipation of getting changed and then stepping out into the swimming area was exciting. Usually there was a fountain and the water splashed and smelt heavily of chlorine. The noise was almost deafening. That was the only drawback for me. I don't like that din of people shouting and general mayhem. I loved sunbathing though, and went as brown as a berry. Holidays were spent at Mevagissey, and the tan topped up to perfection in the first 2 weeks of September. One year we went to Meva with Diz, Kate and Auntie Phyllis. We thought it dead boring to be thrust down in the sticks and wrenched away from London. We decided to use the time to recuperate and would sleep as much as we could, so when we went home we would be prepared for anything. I remember doing that. My dad saying, "What are you doing?" And I just said, "Sleeping. For 2 weeks I want to sleep so that I'm recharged and full of beans when I go home." We would sit on the quay listening to Pick of the Pops with Alan Freeman, or enjoying ourselves posing on the beach. Well, I better leave it there. Time's ticking by, isn't it? Yeah, so I wanted to show you this. This is the Beatles Christmas show. There they are. Souvenir program. And I think it says inside what the date was. Finsbury Park Astoria, from Tuesday the 24th of December to Saturday the 11th of January 1964. Yeah, Billy J. Kramer, Rolf Harris, The Foremost, Cilla Black, Tommy Quickly and the Barron Knights. I thoroughly enjoyed it. What an evening. I'm so glad I went. I'm so glad I went. I love Billy J. Kramer. I'll keep you satisfied, sings Billy, and 500,000 pot pickers seem to agree. The nation's most popular new singing star. Oh. So I wanted to show you that. And then I was talking about the dinner and dances my dad went to, and he was at the Stage Golfing Society at the Savoy Hotel, 18th of November 1962. And my dad being my dad, Bob Hope was there, and he got quite a lot of autographs, and he always said, would you write to Pene? And so they all say Pene with love, Bill Cotton, Robertson Hare, Ian Wallace, Paddy Roberts, Henry Cotton. But he asked Bob Hope to tea. I mean, Bob Hope coming for tea. I mean, come on. Anyway, so it says to Pene with regrets because he obviously couldn't come. But it was nice of Dad to ask him. I think that runs in the family too, asking people around for tea or people to come and stay. Genuine offers. But there we are, to Pene. With regrets, Bob Hope. I think that's quite a special one. And I've got this one, the Stage Golfing Society, 39th annual dinner, November the 15th, 1964. I'm glad I saved these. At the time, I just went, oh, that's what I meant when I said once I took my mum for granted. I just said, oh, I didn't appreciate what it was. How thrilled my dad must have been coming from his background and then, you know, saying that to Bob Hope. I've got all these autographs here. But there we are. I'm going on to say now, have a chat with my friend about self-esteem, because last week I read in my story that I think my self-esteem must have tumbled because teachers were saying this or that. And, you know, afterwards I thought that's absolutely not true, because some of you messaged that your self-esteem was good and this and that. And I thought, you know what mine was? What did I mean by my self-esteem taking a tumble? So I've deleted that from my book. I haven't put that in anymore. And then Heather, we went out for a lovely meal. She took us out and we got chatting about self-esteem and what it meant. So I'm going to put that up here. That's it.
That's it.
Oh, we've just been, is this recording? Is it not recording it? Anyway, what we wanted to come on and say, because we've been chatting away, haven't we?
We have, yes.
We've been out for lunch and Heather's treated Pete and I to a lovely Italian. It's been gorgeous.
It was very nice
Was
indeed.
gorgeous, absolutely lovely. And the weather's beautiful and it's just been a lovely day. So we've been sitting, jawing, chin-wagging, chewing the cud.
Never.
And we talked about, well, I was telling you how last time I was reading my story and, well, you see, I've got to sit up. Last time I was reading my story and I talked about low self-esteem, and I've cut that bit out because it's nothing to do with self-esteem.
No.
And looking it up, self-esteem is, oh, I've got to read it, haven't I?
Well, to get it right.
Yes, to get it right. Yeah, what would you say self-esteem is? Well, this is what it says, you know, when you always Google it and look it all up, don't you? Well, we do. And that's the difference we were saying. That, you know, when I was a kid, when I was talking about, when I was 13, I couldn't look it up.
No, we were talking about the fact that your only reference is either your friends at school, your family, or if you were lucky enough to have the Encyclopedia Britannica and you could get the volumes down or go to the library, but there wasn't the information that's available, good or bad, today via social media, through the internet. So that access changes a lot now, doesn't it? For what people can see, read and be influenced by.
Yeah, exactly. 4 characteristics of healthy self-esteem are a firm understanding of one's skills. Now,
you said you felt you did at 13, you knew what you could do. I think I knew what I was capable of.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have said it was necessarily a skill, but yeah, at 13, I was expected to come home and start the tea and we always had students, so change the beds and you know, it was always involved practical skills we had.
Right.
And I think being the oldest of 4 is always an extra responsibility.
Yeah.
You were the oldest as well, weren't you? Sort of with you, but Chris was a lot younger, so I think that puts what's expected of you.
Expectation. That's what came in my head, yes.
But whether that gave me self-esteem, I couldn't really say.
No, but a firm understanding of one's skills. So, you know, when you left school, you know, went home, you know, you could get the tea on, you knew what you were doing, your mum had told you, you knew you could change the bed. I mean, I knew I could make my, you know, I like my mixed up fruit. I know that I could phone a friend. We didn't actually phone people in those days.
My dad had a lock on our phone.
Did he?
Yeah.
A lock?
A lock, because it was one of those ring dial ones that probably people don't necessarily know what they are. But
right.
Right. And he had a lock on it because there was 4 of us and we were
right.
He said, if you spent all day with your friends at school, you don't need to come home and be on the phone for them for another 4 hours.
Oh, but you do.
Yeah. So he put a lock on it so we could, because of the phone bills were extortionate.
So I didn't.
But that, I mean, what's that? 10 years, 15 years on from.
Yeah, Heather's 60, I'm 76 coming up. So there is that difference between our age. But even so, you see, things have changed very quickly in the last. But in that, they hadn't changed so much, had they? So I didn't come home from school and spend hours on the phone or anything like that. Well, quite frankly, I've got on with my homework. Well, last time I spoke about being kissed by this boy.
Yeah, you did.
I mean, you know, it was Jane's cousin. And Kenny Lynch was playing on the radio. Well, I was 13. I worked it out, you see. 13. When you go to someone's house, you don't expect to be kissed, do you, at 13? No. So what you're going to do, you're going to go home. Well, I might have said to Diz, oh, my goodness, what happened to me today? You know, I just felt a bit out. That wasn't low self-esteem. No. And because the teachers were saying, you know, you should pass your maths exam, and I thought, do you know what, there's not a chance in hell because I can't add up. I had a firm understanding of my skills and that wasn't one of them. No.
Not your strong point.
So it wasn't lack of self-esteem. The ability to maintain healthy relationships with others as a result of having a healthy relationship with oneself. I think I did. I thought I looked all right. Well, you know, obviously. We used to go out, Diz and I, and we had 2 things we'd say to each other. Does my breath smell? And does my bottom stick out?
Right.
And they were the 2 things. We'd be at a bus stop. Does my breath smell? Does my bottom stick out? I mean, the thought of having one's bottom stick out was absolutely dreadful. And so I think really I did have a healthy relationship with myself. And I had lots of friends, and my friendships they weren't on the surface friendships, they were good friendships.
Yeah, I think selective in who your good friends were.
Absolutely. What about you?
I think, again, pre-social media, you had good friends and you spent time with them.
Yeah.
you still had to go to people's houses to do things, so that was effort in itself. So you couldn't spread yourself. We didn't have parents that drove us around everywhere to all this club and that club and all the rest of it. So you went to a friend's house and you stayed there, and they you know, you had sleepovers, and they were good friends. But it was quite a select group, even if you did do different clubs or you know, you saw them there and then you went home.
I didn't ever do sleepovers.
No,
I don't think in my day we did.
no.
Just well, maybe people did, but well, I never did. Realistic and appropriate personal expectations. I knew I didn't want to make that dress, you know, in handiwork class, and Mum made it for me. She got absolutely told off because she didn't cut all in, do, you know, the French seams. But did I really care? No, I didn't really care.
No.
I just went home and said to Mum, you got told off, you know. And so I had a realistic expectation. I wasn't going to produce something as beautiful as those girls that, well, put their mind to it. I had my own things I wanted to put my mind to, and basically that was my piano practice.
So your piano was your focus, wasn't it, really?
It was, really. And my friendships, you know, having people, and my family life. I didn't really want to spend ages making this or that, you know. But so I did have a realistic and appropriate personal expectation, and the expectation was, sorry, teacher, I don't think I'll do that.
Maths is not your highlight, no.
What about you?
I don't know, really, at that age that I did have any specific expectations. As a family, we, again, like I was saying, there was 4 of us, so it was like a bit of a gang, really. So I don't think there was individual expectations other than when you finish school, you've got to get yourself some kind of job. So, you know, that was
definitely for me.
Yeah, you weren't, as higher education wasn't an option for me, family-wise, it wasn't affordable or even thought about. So it was go to find a job, go to work. So
I remember the day I left school, and my mum said, well, you've got to get a job now. And I started work the week after. And I mean, that was just what was expected.
We'd always had Saturday jobs.
Oh, righty-ho.
Because didn't really get pocket money, so if you wanted anything special, then we had worked in a greengrocer's on a Saturday morning.
That would be fun.
Did bed changing in a hotel.
Right.
My mum did chambermaiding for a while, so we used to go over on through the holidays. Changeover day was always big in the hotels.
But nice to earn a bit of pocket money.
It was pocket money, yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't until I started work. I didn't have to give any of that to Mum and Dad. But once I started work, I was expected to contribute towards the housekeeping. So it was half of my wages was given to my parents.
Yeah, same with me.
Because Mum had lost the family allowance, obviously, when you leave school. So
I gave Mum half.
Half, yeah. So that's.
Well, I earned £7, and I gave Mum 3.
I think we had a scheme called a YTS, a youth training scheme, when I left school. So if there wasn't anything available, the government paid a company to employ you. And I was paid the princely sum of £25 a week to do the same job as another lady in the same department who was probably getting paid £60 a week.
So it was a racket,
It was a racket, really.
Because then they'd let you go.
Yeah,
and
at the end of 6 months,
YTS.
and that's exactly what happened. After 6 months, they said, no, we don't need you, because they could get somebody for another £25 a week. And then, then I went to the job that I ended up at, and on another YTS, because you had to do them for a year. And fortunately for me, kept on at that one and stayed there ever since.
Yeah. I left school. I went to college for a year and learned shorthand typing because I wanted to, not because I was a girl and it was expected. That's what I chose. I really wanted to do it. And business studies I did. And then I got a job in a solicitor's office over a bank in Edmonton, and I absolutely loved it. Why? Because being in a solicitor's office, you're dealing with people, and of course that was really, you know, being a counsellor, and I just love people, and so I loved that job because it wasn't really about typing and shorthand. It was about that person and what had happened to them.
You also like words, though, don't you?
Yes, words. Oh, so
it was very, had to be done properly, and you really liked that learning that how that was
I did.
what's expected of certain standards.
And we'd finish work at 5, and at 4 o'clock everything was finished. And then what we'd do, a couple of us in the office, we would then sit and read, and the other person would listen, read out loud everything we'd typed.
Wow.
Everything. We had all the deeds to people's houses, the leases, the wills, the letters. We read everything out loud to double check it. And then we'd have to sew up the leases and sew up the wills. And so that took, a couple of hours before. So when I went home at night, I knew everything was right. There was nothing left to chance. It had all been put to bed, all, as you say, about words and about people. And I remember going to work and thinking, also, I remember Mrs. Speary. There was only 3 of us, and Mrs. Speary was the lady, and she said, we had to go and eat in the ladies' our lunch. Yeah, not in the office. Mr. Bennell didn't like smells. Oh no. And I had an orange, me and fruit. I loved it. Oh no, dear, she said, you'll have to eat that in the ladies because, the smell of oranges, he won't like it. And so I had to go in the ladies and have my lunch. And it was quite amazing. But he used to wear all the black long-tailed coat, but I loved the rightness of it all. It just suited me. And then I thought to myself, I think I'm going to train to be a solicitor. That will suit me right down to the ground. I really wanted to do it. But of course, then I met Pete, and
the rest is history, as they say.
That all went out the window. So, and what I used to do as part of that job is go to the local courts and take down the people's statements in shorthand.
So now, if you'd have had low self-esteem,
I couldn't have done it.
There's no way you could have done that.
No.
I mean, just being that precise in an office as the junior.
Yeah, junior I was.
To stand as an equal with those ladies in that office and produce work that was acceptable. You had self-esteem.
I did.
To be able to do that.
Yeah.
There's no way that's you.
No.
Never in a million years.
No. An understanding of one's needs and the ability to express those needs. So what we're saying really after looking at it all, well, you got a job when you left school and you're still there.
I am.
I mean, she's still there after all these years.
But the job changed. The job's changed. I went to work in a pharmacy. I worked on the shop side, so we had all the cosmetics and the agencies, so I was more selling. And like Penny, I enjoyed talking with people, and that part of it I really enjoyed, and did that for quite a long time. And then people in the dispensary side of the pharmacy left to have babies, and the knowledge I had of the pharmacy was more than taking on somebody for the shop. So they basically moved me into the dispensary. So from there I trained with the dispensary side of things, and then the technician side of things, and then the checking technician side of things. And now I end up as the pharmacy manager. But if you'd have told me that's what I would do, I'd have said no. But as time goes along, you build on the skills that you've got, build on the confidence that you've got.
That's it.
And I think if you're somebody that's willing to have a go, that counts for a lot.
That's it. And that is really the end of our conversation, is we're saying that as a young person, it's about confidence, because how can you have confidence in something that you haven't learnt? If you haven't learnt it, you can't know it. Don't beat yourself up.
No.
It's a lifetime of learning, isn't it? And that then the confidence builds. But we can't say it's about lack of self-esteem.
No.
But then, of course, we went on to chat and say, well, hang on a minute, youngsters do have low self-esteem now. And we blamed that on
the internet.
Yeah.
And, these so-called influencers that tell these poor young people that are being bombarded by all these images and thoughts and processes that they should know how to do, or they can do, or it's a scary world being a teenager compared to me and you, isn't it?
Yeah.
We said,
Yeah.
and
We were innocent as doves
absolute,
and cautious as what's named.
cautious as serpents,
Oh,
innocent as doves.
That's it. That's a
Yeah.
scripture, isn't
Yeah,
it?
that's right.
Yeah, and that's how we were.
And
I
they're not
think.
cautious. I think it's very scary.
Yeah.
What's available.
Yeah. You can so easily be taken in
Yeah.
by it.
Well, we are as grown-ups. So if
Yeah.
you've not got that skill set, if you've not got that knowledge that you've built up,
And really, we were taught by our parents
Yeah.
this and that, this and that. And even though now youngsters are being taught that, you know, they know it's all there.
they've got access to other things.
And it's all there for us as well.
Yeah.
But we have to be careful, don't we?
Yeah.
I
Oh, well,
think we
everybody
do.
does, doesn't
Yeah,
they? I mean, it's so
absolutely.
easy to get caught up in
Yeah.
things.
Now we've got
Even when you
scammers
think
and-
you've got common sense, you
Yeah.
get caught out.
Yeah.
So
You've got scammers and AI and good. Who can you trust, if
Yeah.
you see what I mean? Yeah. So we did a big round robin there.
we did. We decided that you need to build your own confidence with your knowledge that you've learned, and experience plays such a huge part in that. And you can only get that experience, unfortunately, through some life lessons.
That's it. And also choose your friends wisely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's the key too, don't you?
We chose all right, didn't we?
Yeah, well, all right. Yeah, of course we did. It's absolutely lovely. So we've had a lovely day
We
together.
have had a lovely time.
Yeah, and we'll say cheerio.
Bye.
Bye. Well, that's it for another week. Thanks for joining me. There's going to be a couple of photos of the flowers in the garden and Woody Woodpecker banging away on the tree, just to remind me of where we are. The tulips are out, the primulas are out, the garden looks mostly yellow at the minute, and the blossoms out on a beautiful bush that we have near the conservatory door. So when that's open, it smells of yang yang. I don't know the name of the bush, but it's beautiful anyway. And then there's a little film of a trip to Dartmoor that we took in March. And when you come off the road from Exeter, well, it is such narrow lanes. I mean, it's only one car can go down it, no cars can pass, and that's for quite a few miles. And there is this sign that says, you know, keep heart, you're nearly there. And then when you get there, it's just such a beautiful sight. When we were there this time, they've had beautiful log fires going day and right into the evening. It was lovely. And so it was toasty warm and just so welcoming. And when I got there, I must admit, I had a little cry. I walked into the lounge and looked out at the river, and it's just such a special place for me. And then one morning after breakfast, there was a helicopter on the lawn. Never seen anything like it. I think somebody must have been being picked up. And what a thrill. And of course, I'm crying away on the terrace then, because it reminded me of when we used to go to the Isles of Scilly. On one year, usually there's about 12 of you in the helicopter. But one year, well, it was only recently, very recently. Well, those helicopters were out of commission. And so they only had ones that seated 5 leather seats. I think that was my last film of when we went to Tresco. And it was so special. And here was a very similar helicopter on the lawn. And I don't know, something about helicopters and me, they're very romantic. So there's that film of that, and just us walking around. So I hope you enjoy that, and thank you for joining me. And till next time, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.